All right, it is 9:40 a.m. I am calling this meeting to order. This meeting is in the Oregon Commission on Black Affairs on October 3rd. Now call to order. Saba, will you start with us for the roll call, please?
Absolutely. Good morning, commissioners. When I call your name, please say aye or present. Chair Arevalo Asemota.
Here.
Vice Chair Lakiana Drury. Commissioner Ben Duncan. Commissioner Jimmy Doga. Senator Aaron Woods. Commissioner Kenny Adams.
Here.
Commissioner Joseph Rankin.
Present.
Representative Travis Nelson.
Present.
Commissioner Liz Feather Branch.
Present.
Commissioner Clarence Williams.
Present.
And Commissioner Ty Hardin Moore.
Present.
Thank you.
Commissioner Yatoma Drury here and locked in.
Perfect. Thank you. We have noted it on our meeting minutes as well.
Perfect. And then agenda. No, let's just quickly go into, I know we do have a new commissioner that is in our census right now. So I'd like to at least give him a chance to at least speak and let us know who he is and his background. Definitely looking forward to working with him. And I feel like this would be a good opportunity for us to kind of to get to know him a lot more. Kenny Adams.
I don't know how long I should go, so I'll try to just be brief. One thing you guys will learn about me is brevity is not usually my strong suit, so but I am working on that. My name is Kenny Adams. I'm the executive director of the Fathers Group. We are located here in Central Oregon. I live in Lapine, but we cover pretty much Deschutes. I moved to Oregon in 2013 from Georgia. I was living in Augusta, Georgia, that pretty much just got pretty decimated during this last hurricane. But I grew up in Florida. But I started doing this work right around 2020 when the world got turned on its ear. And haven't looked back since. Living in Central Oregon, we're just looking at the latest numbers on the Black community members, and we make up just 0.4% of the region. So it gets pretty difficult, but I like to look at myself as a connector and trying to pool resources and people and identities together so that way people can just feel safe and protected and like they have a good step forward in life. Some of the work that I've done in Central Oregon has been in the form of public speaking, but also security and strategy on keeping community members and students safe. Our organization, which is one of two Black-led organizations, we focus primarily on students and families and advocacy. So working with students pretty much is my life. Absolutely love it. So I'm ready to get in and, kind of get my hands dirty and ready to, do this work. I'm really excited to work with everyone here. I've, spent some time with Terrence over the last little bit and, just trying to get a lay of the land. And I know I'm supposed to just be observing, but put me to work. So yeah, I'm ready to get going.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Adams. We are definitely looking forward to working with you. I will also be in touch with you too as well. Just to have a one-on-one meeting to get you all caught up with what's going on. And yeah, we definitely have a lot that you can be a lot more involved in. And so right now, the next agenda item that we do have is our minutes. So from the last meeting by unanimous consent. So typically, if you were not here at the meeting, you abstain or from approving minutes because you're not in a position to say whether they are accurate or not. So it's important for folks to review the minutes before because we are endorsing the accuracy. And we're able to take, so like right now, I'm sure you all got an email, I believe yesterday, that had the agenda and also the minutes of, someone say something? Yeah, so if you can go through your email for a second, go through the agenda and also the minutes for about a minute or two, and then we'll come back and just have a quick vote to either object or approve of minutes and agenda. Well, correction, it was sent on October 1st at 3:21 p.m. by All right, has everyone had a chance to view our minutes and also the agenda for last meeting and this meeting? I don't see any no's. Do we have any objections for today's agenda?
Williams have none.
All right. Any objections? Perfect, then our agenda has been passed for today. Do we have any objections for the last meeting minutes? Do we have any abstentions as well? Because I know we missed a few folks. I know we for sure Kenny Adams, because he can't vote from the last meeting. Perfect. So no objections for the minutes?
No objections, Boulder Branch.
Perfect, thank you very much.
Yeah, no objection, Rep Nelson.
Perfect, thank you, everyone. We will now transition into our public comment period. We do have a few guests, I believe, here. Do we have anyone that's raising their hand or would like to speak for the public comment?
I believe Ava's back, but I don't see her. If there's someone in attendance who would like to provide public comments, please raise your hand. I'm more than happy to give you access to your microphone. Chair Asimoto, we do have one guest. It seems the host might have to give them access. I don't have that right now, Terrence.
I don't either. Ava, are you on? Because I don't have host access either. And so it looks like you just were made host.
Oh, okay, I have host access now. Shatoya Bentley, I was able to promote you to a panelist, so you should be able to speak now.
everyone. I'm Shatoya, and I'm a part of the Ebony Collective. We're a C3, C4 Black-led and ran organization. We're based in Multnomah County, but we try to do the Multnomah County, Washington County, and Clackamas County. And I'm just here. I found you guys online a couple of months ago. So I'm just here being an observant, but I also wanted to just introduce myself.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Can you just share, I just pulled up your website, but can you share a little bit about what the Ebony Collective does and maybe some of the needs or resources or ways that community can support?
Yeah, so the Ebony Collective is a community development corporation. And again, we have a C3 and a C4. So on the C3 side, we uplift Black families. So we supply a pantry, more so for toiletries or any household supplies. Some of our programs is youth advocacy. So far, we've done environmental justice work with our youth. Financial literacy is next on our docket, and community safety has been a huge focus as well. And so, yes, I am also on the focus group. And we've been around for about 5 years now. We're small, medium, but I claim that we're mighty in the work that we do because we're not really a traditional nonprofit in the way that we do things. Again, we try to uplift Black families, not do the handout. And so we do that by education, things of that nature. Right now, we're looking for volunteers to help us with our trunk or treat, just to raise more awareness of the organization itself, and other awareness things that we have done is working with Portland Votes right now on getting folks a better understanding of ranked choice voting in the Portland metro area. And we do a lot of work on the east side. So yeah, I'm glad to meet a lot of you through Zoom. I haven't met a lot of you, so I look forward to getting to know you.
Thank you, Shatoya.
Thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone. We will transition into our commissioner updates. So this is a chance for commissioners to kind of just give us a bit on what they're doing on their work, and there's ways for us to be a lot more involved as a group or as individuals. So we can actually start with Commissioner or Vice Chair Juries right here.
Just been participating in a lot of community events. Some of the recent highlights were the NAACP dinner this past weekend. And a representative from Tennessee who gave a really great speech and talked about the importance of voter education. As just mentioned, I think a huge focus right now is and should be on registering as many Black voters as possible, especially here in Portland, with our new ranked choice voting and proportional voting system. There's going to be a lot of changes to that. Making sure folks are educated on that is really big. I also sat down with a teacher from PPS the other day, and the education system, the teachers are really still going through it. So I know that we had the teacher strike last year, and I feel like now it's like, oh, that's over. They got a better contract, but the work's still really hard. During legislative days, I had the opportunity to meet the director of the Department of Education. I'm blanking on her name. I want to say it's Dr. Myers. And then it's not, okay. But I met her. And then I also at the NAACP event met the superintendent of the new superintendent of Portland Public Schools. Both of them are Black women. And I think we should eventually have them come here and speak. I know education is one of our top priorities, and it's something that we need to continue to have a focus on. So those are just some of the updates from us. Got some exciting events coming up from Word is Bond that we'll be sharing in a couple, well, about a month or so. So other than that, some of my updates.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Drury. Commissioner Rankin.
Thank you, Chair. So unfortunate that I've not been able to go about my normal duties for some months now. I'm just coming back from the hospital to join this meeting now. Apologize for that. My health has been so bad. Just recuperating.
Thank you, Commissioner. I hope you be better. Let me know I'm anything. Rep Nelson, would you have any updates for us?
Do I have any updates?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have a lot that's specific right now. I've begun to pull together my legislative agenda for 2025. And I've got multiple LCs that I've submitted related to OCBA priorities.
Thank you very much, Rep Nelson. Commissioner Fowler Branch.
Excuse me, I, like Commissioner Dury, have been to numerous events in the last few weeks. I went to Albina Vision Trust Sunday dinner, and that was great. It was nice to see them give the dinner and just totally be open and honoring of their community and people that have been supporting them. I also was at the NAACP event, and we'll talk about that more when we get to the education piece later on. And then I was at the legislative days with the cross committees, and the VOCA funding passed, and I'm sure that we'll hear more about that later on in the meeting. Let's see, what else am I trying to hit here? Oh, and also there's an organization that's just started called Black Women for Kamala. We had our first meeting this last week. There will be another meeting at Amafi's. I will get the date and get that information to you, either Saba or Ava, so that you can post it. And it's welcome to any other women in the community. It is, I'm not sure it's just women specific, but right now we want other Black women to attend if at all possible. So I will try to make sure that I get things on the calendar here better than I've done in the past. That's it for now.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Branch. Commissioner Williams.
Yes. Well, one of the biggest things I think hearing from everyone, and I think these are moments when we get together as a board too, that we I would suggest that we kind of really collaborate with each other on some of the projects that we are trying to come to fruition, as you know, to sponsor and guide, especially from OCBA perspective. And so this aviation program is huge, to have students of color to be able to go to college, get a degree, be in a program in a company that is extremely high profile, but yet it's been kind of kept a little quiet, and the doors has opened up for us to be able to take these resources, as well as their ability to be able to give the kind of resources that I see OCBA definitely could use. But you know, the starting point is to get some of the faculty that I've spoken to at U of O, as well as Lane Community College. And there's been a few senators that I've spoken to about this, so that we can generate not only awareness, job opportunity, education, but a lot of these students are being relocated from where they were to Oregon. And so all these things come together, and I think from my perspective, being able to collaborate with my other teammates here and commissioners, that here it is, sometimes we can slide certain things in to help on one end and one on the other end. Mention of the NAACP, NAACP. Here it is when Miss Libby Reynolds just had passed away here, and we had a funeral down here in Lane County. But there was a lot of buzz of what we could do, even more so and better outside of what was already done. That she has laid the groundwork for us to do. So I would like to be able to have a moment where we can kind of put some of these things to the table. If you want to say, I call it food table, meaning that we put it there to consume, that all of us have a skill and a talent and resources and so forth, but we put it together, I think we're much stronger to make a real impact right away, very quickly, and as well as having the resources and the people behind us that can keep that drive going. I'm not into a one that we did this thing. I'm looking at long term, because if it was my child, if it was my granddaughter who's growing up and she wanted to be a pilot, I would hope that there was a program and something laid in place that is just then it's the normal thing to do, and it's not out of the way. This is something that can be very, very viable to the state. And with closing, we would be probably about the only one that would make a penetration in this particular company at this level, and that would be huge for us as a board.
That's awesome. Thank you very much for that update. Like, you guys, you're definitely doing a lot out there in Eugene. I believe that's all the commissioners we know. Commissioner Adams, I know you definitely just gave us an update about what you're doing. Would you have anything else to add?
I mean, we are, and are you talking about just what's happening in this region?
Yeah, just things that are relevant to the work that you do with the commission and things that you feel like we can help you on.
Well, I do know that in this area we do have one Black elected official. He's on city council here in Redmond, where my office is, and his name's Clifford Evelyn, and we are working pretty heavily on bringing more awareness to Black issues in Central Oregon region. And then with the addition of me joining the commission, I do believe that that is also going to help this region be a little bit more vocal in trying to do more networking with it across the state. So that way we can have some more resources that are coming to this region, because a lot of people in this area feel pretty fairly isolated. And Central Oregon typically kind of gets ignored, which in some cases I can see why, just from living here for 13 years. But that being said, though, we are very adamant about kind of rattling some chains down here, just so that people can actually know that we actually are here. So again, I'm looking forward to just getting a little bit deeper into the work with the commission, so that way I can see exactly how I can be most effective.
Absolutely, looking forward to helping with that. I believe I'm the last one. I don't really have a lot except for I know right now we are getting into childcare with our nonprofit. Our goal is to potentially have our own facility by next year. So that's an area that I am learning a lot about right now as well. So if you have any pointers, any folks who you work with that you can send my way to just getting ideas on, that would be great, because I want to do it in a way that supports our community, but also do it in a way that also it's going to be at least like not just like something that's just like time sensitive, or something that could just create at least long lasting change within the community. One other thing too that's happening is on the 22nd of October, I'm going to a Black Health Summit. I think that is something that if anyone's available should honestly check out. It's going to be happening at Evergreen in Portland, I believe. I'm not entirely sure like what area they will be targeted on, but it's something that caught my eye. I feel like we should have to be a lot more involved in. And besides that, as you all know, I'm still getting into housing right now. So another thing I'm trying to do is just to learn more about just what the community needs. So I'll be hosting a lot more community sessions, and I would love for commissioners to be a lot more involved in that if you do have time. So I'll definitely let you know when that is happening. But that's all I have for my commission updates. we'll be transitioning into our next, which is American 250 by Director Saunders.
Absolutely. So before I do that update, just want to request for information on the Black Health Summit. So we can share with all commissioners. I think that's extremely important and ties into the healthcare priority area as well. And also just wanting to flag as a reminder, the commission is not able to support an individual candidate. I messed up in the chat. So just wanting to mention that you are able to do so as individuals, but not necessarily as a commission. Switching over to the America 250 update, I did receive a written update from Zachary Stocks, and Zachary is the liaison between OCBA and the America 250 Commission. So he writes that so far the commission has only met a single time and doesn't have a whole lot to report as this first update. There is a list of themes, and I'm going to drop the link into the chat around the themes for the America 250 that is being discussed across the nation. So it is a very long link, but please click it and you would see the themes that's being discussed across the nation. He also mentions that he would like to say there was a lot of time spent asking for general thoughts about what we would all hope for the anniversary to emphasize for the public. Did feel a little uncomfortable with how suggestions around patriotism and celebration were offered without any real consideration of how communities of color may feel less favorable to those type of terms, or at least a more nuanced view of how the public should feel about America's past. He looks forward to sharing perspectives of Black Americans and will likely be marking this occasion, but not celebrating it. However, the first agenda did not allow for a lot of time for discussion. So just wanted to provide that update for the America 250 Commission, and we will have one for the next meeting.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saunders. And also just a correction, I messed up. It's not the Black Health Summit, it's the Black Wealth Summit. Yeah, I put that in the notes. And also if anyone wants to go to that, please let me know. I'll be there as well.
Well, Black Wealth is something I'm personally interested in, so would love the link and would love to still share it out with the entire commission.
Yeah, I put the event in the messages, I believe. No, I didn't. I sent it to only one person. I'm gonna do it again. And then yeah, just let me know if you guys would like to attend that. Let's see. And then next up is back to Dr. Saunders again for official duties.
Absolutely. I actually see Commissioner Duncan on board right now. Commissioner Duncan, do you want to jump in with the EJC vote?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. And Jaisha couldn't be here this morning, but just real quick, so I haven't been able to say it officially, Director, welcome, congratulations. It's great news, great to see. Welcome, Commissioner Adams. Looking forward to getting to know you better. So I've brought this up a couple times. I've just to give you a sense of timeline, I was appointed by Governor Kulongoski originally to the Environmental Justice Task Force. That is now the Environmental Justice Council, and my time and tenure has been long overdue for transition, though it's been a real honor to not just represent kind of community all these years on that and that work around environmental justice, environmental racism, but to, for the last several years, be able to represent and serve the seat for the Oregon Commission on Black Affairs. I've been working diligently to find my replacement for some time, and I'm going to put just a bit of information in the chat for your background on Draisha, who's just done a ton of work in community, brings a strong environmental background. She's professionally a civil engineer, environmental engineer here in Portland, but has done a lot of different community work and as part of a fledgling body of work with Kajani Collective, looking at Black voices and environmental policy work, which is where we reconnected to around this conversation to represent OCBA. So I think just for additional background, just the Environmental Justice Council at the state has a dedicated seat for for the advocacy commissions. One of course, is OCBA. I think in our previous conversations, and I've recognized this, of course, personally, right, serving both on the EJ Council, which has its own body of work, including some legislative mandate to create an environmental justice mapping tool for the state of Oregon, and other responsibilities to advise the governor and natural resource agencies on issues of environmental racism, environmental justice. We have talked about the challenge of trying to serve in both spaces. And so I think the ask today, if I understand the agenda, is to be able to both nominate and approve the representation and liaison from the OCBA to the Environmental Justice Council with Draisha. And I was hoping she'd be here today, but between I think both of our jobs are trying to put us in the ground a little bit at this moment, so we couldn't coordinate this time. But I'm strongly in favor of her. I don't know if folks have had the opportunity to be connected. She's excited. She submitted her application. We're working with the governor's office to get the appointment formalized as well. But obviously, this is the first step for that formal representation and liaison. And the expectation is twofold. One, that I've committed to her based on, now almost 2 decades of not just work in environmental justice, but around this current council, to support her. And she's committed to being and coming to our spaces to provide updates, to make sure that we're tracking the opportunities, particularly as they relate to Black Oregonians, and the work of the EJ Council going forward. So I think that is a proposal to put a motion to have Draisha Brannon represent as a liaison to the Environmental Justice Council for OCBA. Director Saunders.
That is correct. And Chair Bucci, would look to you for starting that motion for a vote.
Motion to vote for Jarisha for the EJC Council. I'll need a second.
William second.
Perfect. If you go ahead and start the vote, do you have any objections as far as from the commissioners? That's probably the easiest route. If you do, you should raise your hand. Perfect. I believe the motion passed.
Appreciate it, folks. And thanks, Chair, for being flexible on the agenda today to accommodate my time and schedule. So really appreciate it. And I'll follow up with Draisha and work with the advocacy office staff to make sure that we're aligned and that she's connected to our meetings as well. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Commissioner. Much appreciated. Next, we move into our Black History Month for February 2025 by Saba.
Thank you, Chair Asamota. So I'm going to start by giving a little context. A few weeks back, Chair Asamota and I had a conversation about what we would like to do, and we brainstormed a few ideas that we would love to get everyone's input on, and ideally a decision, as email decisions can be a bit slow and planning does take some time. So first and foremost, MLK Day, as you all know, every year the Scanner Breakfast happens, and it is, I believe, in my opinion, the largest Black event in all of Oregon, happening in basically January, and wanted to get a sense if folks are interested in going that we might be able to purchase either some tickets or a table, but we do need to make sure that if you are voicing that you want to be there, we are going to be purchasing tickets and would hate to have an empty table if we did that route. So any interest and availability in going to the scanner breakfast, and that happens on MLK Day, which is the third Monday, I believe is January 19th or 20th. And you can either raise your hand, put it in chat, or come off of mute.
This is Commissioner Folder Branch. I'm interested in going.
I am as well.
Excellent. I am hearing a lot of really great feedback and in chat. So Commissioner Adams, the Scanner Breakfast is the Scanner newspaper. It's a Black newspaper here in the Pacific Northwest, and every year on MLK Junior Day, they do a breakfast in the morning to celebrate MLK Day. And it's also a fundraiser for the breakfast. They always have incredible attendance, incredible speakers, and it's always such a beautiful event that fills you up. So I think I'm a little biased because I've been a couple of times and I really love it. So if anyone has a different opinion, I would love to hear that as well.
I would add that it's also a scholarship fundraiser for students. They give scholarships out every year, and I think they give upwards to 20 scholarships per year. So they're one of the groups that give the highest amount of scholarships every year. And also the Scanner is probably, it's not the oldest paper for sure, but it is one of the oldest, longest running papers in the Pacific Northwest.
And Bernie supports everybody, honestly. That's why I think it's always great to just support him and everybody.
Excellent. It seems like we might be going towards a table purchase. I can confirm that with Chair Bucci afterwards, and once we hear the report from the ED about funds and whatnot. Black History Month. There are a couple of ideas that we wanted to float with you. We do want to make sure that it is a month of action, not just celebration and acknowledgements. And so a couple of ideas that Chair Asamoah and I had were either a day-long service in different areas of the state every week, or walking tours. And of course, the inspiration came from Word is Bond. So thank you, Lakiana. So ideally, commissioners within their own parts of the state would take on hosting either a small walking tour of Black history within your neck of the woods, or in partnership with an organization that you are already a part of. For example, Word is Bond or the Fathers Group co-host a day of service. And that could look like whatever the nonprofit does, or whatever you think would be most beneficial to the Black community within your area of the state, but want to make sure that we get input and what people are interested in doing and what you have capacity. And I really want to emphasize the capacity, because part of the reason that it would be different parts of the state is, as a commissioner who might represent Central Oregon or Eastern Oregon, we are relying on you to lead that specific event. And the hope is that we might be able to partner with you that event to pair it with the proclamation for Black History Month. And then one more thing on the proclamation, Chair Asamoah has been in conversation with Senator Woods about putting forth a bill this session to designate February as Black History Month. So it'll be not just a proclamation, but it'll be ideally a bill if it is passed. So interest in either the walking tours or a day of service. And the hope is to have maybe 3 to 4 throughout the state, so maybe one every week. Thoughts, comments?
Williams, I sit on the board of directors for Oregon Black Education Foundation, and Delisha Stubblefield, which she is the director of the free medical clinic for Lane County. And I think this would be something really great to be able to shoot by them, that we could possibly do. I may not be here in January, which is my really flight out of time. But I think this would be really, really great. And I'm pretty sure, knowing her as well as Senator Manny sits on that very board too, this would be, I think, something I'd be interested in putting that by them. And I can get either yes or no answer, because I don't do emails and we can talk about it and have coffee, you know that. No, I think this would be really cool. I think this would be something that they could really see as, I think even in the future, this would be a start, because we right now, with the census are down here in Lane County, it is a lot of people who've relocated all over in Oregon, but Lane County is bursting right now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Commissioner Williams. I have 2 questions for you. One, Terrence put in the chat. Can you please share the contact information? And second question, you mentioned you will not be here in January. Will you be here in February?
Yes, I will be here in February.
Excellent. We will make sure that we book that with your schedule.
Oh no, please do, so I can tell them, oh no, I can't go.
We will make it happen. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Okay.
I love hearing that mobile health clinic. Such a great way to do it. Anyone else interested in taking on either a day of service or a walking tour?
I don't mind considering a walking tour. I do not know what my schedule is like in February, so I definitely need to. I love the idea that Word of Bond, as Bond does that with the students. I would much rather be an assistant than a leader, because I love things that are student-led. So however that goes, if there's a group where it's student-led and they want to talk about at least the albino community, which was the largest Black community for the longest time, then I'm in.
Would you be interested in partnering with your co-commissioner Drury on such a thing?
I wouldn't mind at all.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Word is Bond does do a lower albino walking tour. We've done one for Black History Month for the last 3-ish years, 3 or 4. So if OCBA wants to partner on that, we could definitely do that. Haven't like set a date for that, and we have some other programs that we're going to be doing that month as well. But I'm in favor of that. I'm in favor of day of service, either or. But we will be doing one, so we can collaborate on that, or however y'all kind of want to go about that.
If it ends up being a day of service, I'm good with that too. I just will try to keep my schedule as soon as you can, however we pull it together. I would much rather not be the lead, but be a participant.
Either way, really am happy to hear that we want to elevate community organizations already doing a good chunk of that work on the ground.
And I can for sure do a day of service within my nonprofit, whether it be within like doing like a community trash cleanup, or even at the kitchen, I'm making meals for shelters or folks. I feel like we can incorporate that, and then probably even do more than one, honestly. I definitely can't do a walking tour, but I can help out with one when it comes to Lakiana.
Excellent. I'm hearing Eugene and Portland. Anyone on the other side of the mountains, anywhere else? And if we don't have commissioners in other parts of the state that you would like to see, I do want to note that this is ample opportunity to build that network for future recruitment. Commissioner Adams, I saw your hand.
Yeah, I know that I've been speaking with one of the directors over at Central Oregon Community College, as well as OSU. And I do believe that there is a combined effort to do both a day of service as well as bringing in a special speaker, which they have not told me who it is yet, but it apparently is a larger name. And if that's the case, they want to do collaboration with the Fathers Group here in Central Oregon. And I think that would be something, especially if it is a coordinated effort with the colleges, where we're trying to bring in a lot of the Black students, as well as just the community in general. both with the day of service as well as a special speaker. As I get information, which I should be hearing hopefully within the next week or two, I will pass it on to the commissioners and see whether or not we can do some collaborations. I think it would be fantastic.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I do think that it would be most helpful to have one meeting with our commissioners and community members who might be interested in partnering. It'll be a little bit easier than trying to set up 3 separate meetings. So I will coordinate that via email and then we can go from there. Thank you all so much. So just to recap, we are probably going to end up leaning towards us table at the Scanner Breakfast. And it seems like a day of service in Eugene, Portland, and in Central Oregon are in order. Any questions? Excellent. If anyone has any additional comments or ideas on how to execute, or you just want to help me plan, you know where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Saba. We will now go into old business. Dr. Myers will be leading this section for us with the Joint Commission update, legislative day recap, and the health equity report.
Thank you. I am just popping the links in that I'm going to mention in my update here. So you have them. These are both Google Docs and you'll have editor access on them so you can get in there. All right. So first up, I just want to share a little bit of what's been going on with the DV work group. So for context, for those of you who might not know, the Oregon Advocacy Commissions have a joint subcommittee on domestic violence prevention and statewide coordination. It is a very incredible subcommittee. They meet on the 3rd Thursday of every month from 11 to 12:30. And there are a couple members from each of the 4 commissions. So for Black Affairs, Hispanic Affairs, Asian and Pacific Islander Affairs, and Commission for Women. And something that has happened, just for a little bit of context, it's a subcommittee of commissioners, but also community advocates and service providers in the domestic violence, realm. And also we invite different folks across like state agencies who maybe administer grants to service providers or, do something along the lines of domestic violence prevention and funding. And something that came up in like the July meeting, August meeting was that the Victims of Crime Act funds were being cut by 42%. It's a federal grant. And so this was just going to leave a lot of domestic violence service providers just with a huge funding shortage. And that would have like really severe consequences on survivors and victims in Oregon. And so the subcommittee wrote a letter. Y'all saw, the emails from us trying to get the votes on being able to support it. So that letter was submitted. We submitted it to the emergency board on like public safety and the full emergency board at the legislature because they were going to be the ones deciding whether or not they could fund the Department of Justice's ask for these funding shortages. And I just want to say, hooray, bravo. The emergency board did fund the ask from Department of Justice of $3.15 million to get them through the next 9 months of this biennium. So to get them through June to be able to make sure that the service providers did not have a shortage in these funding. So really incredible work. I want to just applaud you all. It helps. Your advocacy absolutely helps. And there was enormous gratitude from the service providers in the community for what the commissions were able to help them with on that ask. And so the next meeting is going to be October 17th. You're welcome to attend. If you get too many of you in there though, and you have quorum, I will have to ask some of you to drop off. But we're kind of moving into a direction of talking about maybe data, looking into data requirements. And is it burdensome? Is there any way that, we could kind of help advocate for anything on that front? So that's the update on the domestic violence work that's happening. Are there any questions on that? Okay. All right. Well, I'll keep you posted as we move through it. The second thing that I wanted to make sure you were able to talk about, I'll be really quick, but I actually want to turn it back to you all to hear what your thoughts and feelings were around legislative days. So legislative days, for those of you who might not know, they are, you know, kind of 3-day work sessions where the legislators go to Salem, go to the Capitol, and do a lot of work related to like bills that they might want to be sponsoring in the next legislative session. For us, that's going to be from about January to June in 2025. So they meet, you know, maybe once a quarter to learn from, you know, different community organizations and agencies on like what are the issues that, you know, policy might need to be implemented. And so this was September 23rd through the 25th. We, you know, let everybody on the commission know. We hosted a lunch on Monday. It was awesome as usual. And the goal of the September legislative days was to really help commissioners observe committee hearings and kind of just understand that process. So there wasn't like a lot of one-on-one meetings with legislators or anything. You could come to the Capitol and watch one in person. You could tune in online from home or work. And so the second legislative days Google Doc in there, you can click on that and there's a lot of hyperlinks in there. So if you weren't able to see it or you know, there was something that was happening at the same time, you can go in there and you can watch the recordings of the committee hearings. Just, I strongly encourage you to watch at least one committee hearing that seems relevant to either like the subcommittee that you're on or your work, to just start understanding how that process works. Because this is the kind of thing that, you know, as your subcommittee is in housing or education or healthcare is really starting to identify issues, there are relationships that you can build with the legislators who are on those committees and say like, can we come and present, you know, information and share and kind of talk through what we see the needs are for policy. And this doesn't happen during the hustle and bustle of the legislative session. It happens in like the pre-work for it. So I want to kind of help, you know, you be able to be an invited speaker and be able to kind of talk about these solutions that you're seeing for your priorities. So I'll pause there, but I just want to ask you, for those of you who were able to tune into a committee hearing or attend in person, what did you think? Just would love, you know, to know what your experience was like for legislative days late last month.
I can share. I ended up bringing 2 of my ambassadors from Wurzbach. They were high school students, and we had a really good day. I thought it was really great for them to network and kind of see the process. It's been one of my goals as I started on this commission to bring more youth. I bring 2. My goal is eventually to get to a busload of youth, but for them to participate in the process and see how things worked and pick their brains about it, I thought it was really good. I still think there's more work that can be done to just like figure out like our overall strategy and like how we kind of navigate things. It kind of felt like we were just like bouncing from room to room, and I thought the prep materials were really good and helpful too, especially with like folks from like the other commissions, because like, hey, I know that person, but I can't always remember their name, or like which commission are they on. So I thought those resources were really good. But I think like what we could add to that is like, okay, like if you're in this session, like what are we listening for, or just like how do we like take it, because it felt informative, but like to then what end. So I think that could be helpful to me. Maybe that was just my own preparation on it, but I do think that the team put some good materials together that were very useful. And overall, just the networking, like we ran into the director of the Board of Education, the CEO of Tillamook, things like that. So I think it was overall a success. And we need to get a group photo next time too, like all the guys and women together, get a group photo. And the lunch was great as well.
I'm going to add on to Commissioner Jury. I got to stand with the guys and take a picture, which I loved. I would also like to see us send invitation out to groups like Lakiana's group, who are not commissioners. So like Beam is another organization that I know about that works with students around, and they have their own bus. So I think if we gave them notice or sent them an invitation early enough, it would be great to have some of those students also come down and talk about their issues, because they're definitely interested in improving their educational system, their educational opportunity, I would say. And then I can also talk to Noni Kazi, who is their executive director, about really honing in if every student can't come, one or two that can come. And I know that I've talked to a couple of people in the environmental justice area, so I may try to see if I can drag someone down with me the next legislative session to kind of sit through and see how it goes at the legislature.
Great. Thanks for those comments. The next legislative days is going to be in December. I don't know the actual dates. Is Rep. Nelson still on here? If anybody knows, I'll figure out what the days are. I just gotta go find the calendar. So they are in December. They'll probably be early December in the first couple of weeks, I'm assuming. And then the legislative session is kicking off at the, late January, early February. And that is, I think, probably it's probably more appropriate and effective to organize a day of action during the legislative session than it would be during legislative days. Like, it's really hard to get on calendars of legislators because they are in these 2.5 hour long committee hearings kind of back to back. There's a half hour in between them. A lot of people are vying for their very precious 15-minute slots, and so it can just be pretty difficult to try to feel like you're making someone's trip to Salem totally worthwhile because it's just so many moving parts and a lot of legislative committee hearings. That said, the legislative session, it will be a dynamic legislative session, from January to June, and we will be able to track bills that are happening. We will know when they're going to have a public hearing. There's not public comment opportunities during legislative days like there is during the legislative session. So we'll be able to know when a bill, around education or something is happening that we can kind of work with other organizations to do testimony preparation, right? And knowing in advance when that public hearing might be and helping get students and folks signed up for testimony and going, and the presence can just be a lot more impactful, I think, during legislative days during the legislative session than leg days. But I really appreciate that. So we'll kind of see what you are thinking about, for December 10th through the 12th, if that's anything that you want to, participate in any way. But we'll just stay tuned and we'll be in touch about like how you want to go about it. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. I just want to do a little reminder here because I know we're going to be going into subcommittees soon. And from what we have on the healthcare subcommittee, we have Commissioners Hardin, Moore, and Commissioner Williams. In the education committee, we have Commissioner Fother-Branch, Vice Chair Drury, Commissioner Rankin, and I'm wondering if Commissioner Adams, if education might be the right fit. And then in the housing subcommittee, we have Commissioner Duncan, Commissioner Dogo, and Chair Asamoah. So just when we do the breakout rooms, those would be things. And then also, if you wanted to look at that legislative days Google Doc, knowing which subcommittee you're in, I think that's a good guide of knowing, should you go watch the education committee hearings or the healthcare committee hearings or the housing. And so I can help, guide you if you've got some time and you want to know where to look. That is it from me, unless there's any questions or comments.
Any questions? Thank you, Dr. Myers, much appreciated. She said next we have our subcommittee for our breakout sessions. So she already mentioned the sessions. So how does this work? I have no clue.
Absolutely. So this is Director Saunders jumping in. Unfortunately, we don't have breakout room ability on Zoom right now, so we are going to need to hop off of this call. and then return back for the public meeting. We are going to send Teams links in the chat for the respective subcommittees. So I apologize for that. We are experiencing some technical difficulties with trying to set up the breakout rooms last minute. The goal for the subcommittee is to identify a meeting time, a date for the subcommittees on a regular basis, as well as starting to dive into the actual content for each priority area. So for education, what does that look like for OCBA? What are the big focuses going into the next legislative session that you all would like to prioritize? Same goes for healthcare and housing as well. So we're going to start dropping off Teams links. Just for the record, we are going to be taking notes in those subcommittee meetings, and then we will need to return back to the Zoom, which is still going to be our public meeting. We just are running into difficulties, and that's the reason why we're jumping over to Teams. Any questions, concerns?
Yeah, real quickly before you go there. Do we have a list of what legislative committees are actually working on? In terms of, like, say, education, are they actually working on reformulating the, you know, the budget for schools, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so the information that we have thus far is what's listed in our notes for legislative days from those committee hearings. There are things that legislators are working on behind the scenes, but we are not necessarily privy to those conversations as of yet. We'll have more information as we get closer to session on which bills are going to be introduced. But as of right now, I say the paintbrush is in your all's hands of what the priority looks like, to really make it your own and not necessarily go with what legislators are currently working on. Because this can be in addition to a bill, or make modifications during session, depending on what you all find as far as information, research, and things of that nature. So just don't want to put that box around like what the legislature is currently working on. Any other thoughts, comments, concerns? So we do have about 20 minutes allocated to these subgroups. So let's come back to the main meeting at 11:10, if that works for everybody. And we'll have about 10 minutes, or sorry, 11 o'clock. And we will go ahead and do a report out on what was discussed in each commission subcommittee, and then we'll go from there.
I have a question. Do we have a link for, we have the subcommittee names, but is there a link from where we're going? Okay. All right.
Yep,
Thanks.
I just dropped in the healthcare, education's in there as well.
Thanks, I see it.
Okay. I will see you all on the other end, and we'll see you all back at 11 o'clock.
Housing?
Yeah.
And
Is
Terrence,
Ben
can I
putting
get
the housing
a?
link in?
Is there any way I can get a link emailed to me to rejoin because I didn't see the personal one for this one?
Absolutely. We'll do that.
Same for me too, Terrence, please.
Yes, I will resend to everybody as well.
Do you got a housing link in there for Teams yet?
Or we could just hang out here.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
That works too.
Everybody else
Love
out.
it. Okay, we're holding the fort down. Got it. Okay, cool.
Make it easy.
Okay, housing. I know it's Ben and Bucci. Okay, great. Okay, great. Well, Jimmy's not here.
Yeah, no, Jimmy.
Okay, great. And I know some people might be, okay, they're going off. I wonder if people can be joining multiple meetings. All right, so Commissioner Williams, we've got you in healthcare subcommittee, so that's the link second to the bottom in the chat. Are you able to see that in the chat?
No.
You don't see the chat? Okay, cool. So in Zoom, at the bottom, if you don't have the chat open at the bottom, there's a little icon that has like little word bubbles and says chat. And if you click on that and open it up, there's the whole chat, and Terrence is the one that put in the link. So if you're able to click on that. And if not, I can try to like copy and paste it and email it to you real quick if that's easier, but.
That would be easier for me.
Okay. Let me just send this to you. Okay, so Ben and Gucci. Really, the first priority is figuring out when the recurring subcommittee meeting can happen, you know? So it's just you two and Jimmy. So if you wanted to start to like think through a couple of times that might regularly work for you, while I get this off to Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what your schedule's like, Gucci. Mine is a disaster, but if there's,
Right.
I don't know, Jimmy, I mean, I don't know if you get up early in the morning. I
I'm
can
usually
do early.
I'm up at around 4 a.m. usually.
Oh, shit. Well, that's earlier than I get. Well, I mean, if Jimmy's cool with it, I mean, like, you know, like a recurring like 7:30 meeting. I don't know,
I can do that.
like if that works, you know, I would love, you know, let me just look out a little ways.
If it's around like 7:30, I can honestly do any day.
Okay, I mean, I think like at the risk of starting early on a Fridays at 7 a.m. would be great. I just don't know I don't know what Jimmy's life and mornings are like. 7 a.m. allows me to have that meeting, get the kid ready, get him to school, and get to my first meetings.
And one of the things that we're thinking about, just as a model that we're learning from the DV subcommittee, like once a month is pretty sweet. You know, if we're having like a guest speaker or something, we almost always go over 60 minutes, but we never hit 90 minutes, you know? So just, I guess that would just also depend of like what you want to do in the subcommittee, you know, of like, if it's just you two or three, but like if you want to have a conversation with someone at a state agency or a legislator, that you're a little bit more flexible that month, but that could be the standing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know that lots of people will join at 7. I've lost full control of my schedule at this point in my life. So like the 7 a.m.s, I don't know, Bucci, if you're willing to do 7 a.m. on Fridays, you know, maybe we have our first, let's see, what was October? Like if we did third Friday, so that'd be the 18th,
Mhm.
and then it'd be the 15th of November.
Mhm.
That work as a starting point, and then in December, that'll be the 20th, which is kind of
Oh, crap. I lied. I cannot do Fridays. So I'll be I start to
Fine.
volunteer at OHSU from 6. It was from 5 till 9 a.m. on Fridays.
Okay. Thursdays, what about Thursdays?
I can do Thursdays.
Let me just look at I mean, I have some 8 o'clocks, but I could do 7 o'clock on Thursdays.
I can do the 17th or the 24th.
Let's see, I have an 8:30. Yeah, as long as, let's do the third Thursday. So that'll be the 17th of October. So that'll be the 21st of November, and then the 19th of December. And maybe just start there.
Mhm.
And that would give us prepped for ledge session, I guess.
That works for me.
I think we would probably, I don't know, Kyle, like if like once ledge session starts, I don't know if once a month is gonna cut it.
Yeah, we can check that out. What I've kind of found is that during the session, it's almost easier to just touch base for even like 15 or 20 minutes once a week of just like what's happening, what's coming up. So if we want to do 7 a.m. on the third Thursday of the month, so starting October 17th, right? Do you want me to set that up? Do you prefer Google Meet? I don't have Zoom, so I can either do Teams or Google Meet.
Doesn't matter to me.
Or if one of you want to own it, it's totally up to you, but I'll be the staff support on this to like take notes and kind of.
Oh, yeah, I mean, well, does 7 a.m. work for you?
It sure does. Yeah,
Okay.
I can do that.
Yeah, if you can set it up, that'll be great. And Google Meets is fine with me if it works for you, Bucci.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that seems successful. And then I'll just note for, you know, just at a glance for the Senate and House committees, at least what they're starting with on their initial agendas. It's overlaying with a lot of the work I'm actually doing with the LCD and Oregon Housing and Community Services alongside the governor's office around the housing production, the housing accountability HAPO, I don't remember, the Housing Accountability Policy Office. And then some of the Oregon housing needs analysis work on the House side is largely focused on houselessness. And so, you know, Uche, I know that overlaps probably with a lot of your work.
Yeah.
You know, and this is looking at likely there's some new rules that are emerging out of DLCD related to housing production, needs analysis, how capacity is determined. There's some future work for OHCS around equity indicators and how you track and hold cities accountable for addressing things like displacement, gentrification, rent burden, et cetera. So there's a housing is going to be a big thing and a lot of money potentially being asked for. And some of this I'll just have to be really mindful around my role, particularly kind of publicly, but because I am facilitating a lot of these processes for my consultant world, but I have a lot of documentation and a lot of thoughts, and I could write out a lot of things for people in terms of like how some of these things may impact Black Oregonians in particular, or how some of these things actually have some significant gaps in the focused attention and the benefits for Black folks across the state. So I think there's some unique opportunities to potential really think about more culturally specific racial specificity as it relates to some of these programs. The only other thing I'd mention, and again, I'm doing some work with OHCS, there's a low-income fast-tracked OHCS LIFT model that I think is going to be advocating as part of OHCS's budget ask around, you know, as the governor's working to prepare her budget to expand home ownership opportunities, both in urban and rural areas. We've been doing some work in a work group to kind of eliminate some of the structural barriers for lending and lien positions, all this stuff that's really wonky and technical. But the crux of it is actually expanding dollars. And there's a really important conversation, and I think particularly for OCBA, around wealth generation, intergenerational wealth that comes with home ownership. And a lot of the dollars, my concern, I guess I'll say, is that a lot of the dollars are, you know, legitimately, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of dollars that are focused on rental and affordable housing, multifamily, shelter capacity, et cetera, and trying to get some attention to say, like, that's all well and good, and that doesn't build wealth. That doesn't, you know, create the long-term stability for people that low-income, fast-track kind of housing access does, right? So I think this is going to be it could be a really unique legislative advocacy angle for OCBA to say, like, yes, we do need affordable housing. We need to increase production. We need to have more opportunities for folks to have rents that don't overburden them. And at the same time, like, don't forget that this investment in providing long-term wealth generation, stability for families, and the intergenerational impacts of owning a home, and what that means for wealth generation and long-term stability in this country is really significant. And, you know, we can look at any number of data points that show that, you know, the loss of Black home ownership over the last 50 years has been, you know, startling. And there's a real opportunity to try to redress some of those challenges. So that's my 3-minute spiel on the housing world. But really, like, this is like one of the, you know, we're going into some of the, you know, these last couple years and the next 5 years is probably I can't imagine a different time where housing and the concepts and narratives around housing production, like, the dollars are just unprecedented. And, you know, while houselessness and low-income housing, of course, is a huge issue, and supportive and permanent supportive housing, like, we have a really unique chance to allocate dollars for home ownership in a way that I don't know that this country has in a long time, and certainly in the state.
Thanks, Ben. Chair Bucci, is there anything that you want to add? And also, because there's 6 minutes, so you use the 6 minutes however you want, but just a couple of things that I would ask just logistically is what would you like to see on the agenda for October 17th? And do you have any like pre-work for me that you want me to do to try to get you some information before, or like kind of homework for each other that you think, you know, are there websites we should read up on? Were there committee hearings about housing in the Senate or the House that we might want to tune into to see what's going on? I'll watch I'll watch what I can from Ledge Days in September around housing. Mind you, right, like housing and economic stuff, and like it's like sprinkled throughout so many different committee hearings. But what would you like to see on the agenda? Like, how do you want to feel after you leave the October subcommittee meeting, and how can I help you with that?
But you're on mute. Yep.
No, I definitely want to be able to figure out just like a lot more priorities that align. I know right now one of the issues that I deal with when working with Oregon Housing is just like there's a very big lack of funds that are available for literally housing in general. I think right now we are still in queue with like 40 different groups for one project. And we have like 3 more that are in the pipeline that we are not sure they will probably ever get funded. And so it's like it's one of the things that it's like it's very competitive, and that in housing should be available if we have funds like that is available, but I feel like it's also not being used correctly as well. So kind of figure out like kind of what are like the guidelines that the state really has, and like much like what kind of projects specifically are like the funds I'm going to. And I know right now when it comes to like us in the city, I feel like we get a lot more funding for a reason, but it's also one of the things like I don't really see the results of the funding that we're going to clear right now. I know like in the past year, housing has increased a lot more, but we quote unquote added more housing. So if like we're adding the wrong housing, then if that's kind of what's going on, because we need more PSH and we need more support on the ground, and I feel like those things are not being funded. And so I feel like there's just one of the things where there's definitely like a gap of yes, then we need housing, but we also need like the support on the ground to get folks who are already dealing with these issues to get out of those issues and actually get help for the long term before we say, okay, now you're fine. Because kind of now we're giving them like the keys to like a brand new car, and then be like, all right, just go have fun. But there's no like extra like support, because these are folks who obviously may not even know how to manage like a checkbook, or even like how to apply for a job, or just things like there's I feel like it's one of the things where we need to definitely install, or instill a lot more funding into support for folks who are also dealing with housing as well.
Yeah, I love that, Butchie. And Kyle, you're getting like a preview of like the potential for competing priorities, right? In terms of populations that we're serving. And I think one of the things would be listening for like what is the narrative that's coming from like Matt Shebold at the governor's office and the way that they're talking about housing production. What is the narrative that's coming out of some of the houseless services work in the House? There's some of the ONA stuff, but public supported housing and sustainable sheltering. And to your point, Uchi, right, we're seeing, I don't know where I saw the article, but kind of unprecedented levels of evictions out of affordable housing. And for a lot of the reasons you're talking about, even when we get folks in, we're not surrounding them with the type of supports and resources that help people sustain in housing, let alone, at least at the local level, let alone, right, long-term commitments to, long-term rental housing, vouchers, et cetera. So, Kyle, I think one of the things is, listening for like, what's the vibe? I don't know how to describe it. Like, what's the narrative, and like, what are you kind of hearing in not just what's presented and what people have on the agenda, but the type of questions that are coming from, the Committee on Housing and Homelessness and Senate Committee on Housing, and like where are we in lockstep, and where might be some concerns around how we're even framing the issue?
Okay.
Another thing I want to add on this too, because I'm glad
Okay.
you brought up, is like one of the things that people don't realize is the folks who are like the developers or the owners of these properties are usually in debt because of one, there's a lot of folks who they have don't pay rent, or and so they're probably like usually half of their tenants are really like a few months behind on rent. And then there's also a lot of damages happen to these properties that the folks who own it can't really cover, and the state does not really help with any of that. So when we have all these groups that are starting housing for low income, is you're also putting them in like a corner of like you're more likely gonna get all this debt that you now can't get out of. So this we're also kind of starting this whole like it's honestly we're kind of I'm going backwards because I feel like we're not really giving the solution. It's just another problem.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I gotta jump to an 11, but yeah, Bucci, I can't wait to continue these conversations, and I'm already imagining, right, the power of some of the stories that you can share around some of the deficiencies and how we're even structuring our supportive housing and some of the gaps. So I just really appreciate this conversation, and yeah, Kyle, just follow up. I'll probably be trying to watch some of these as well, just from in my professional life. But love to kind of hear your analysis through that lens and help us figure out like what do we need to confront and what do we need to kind of support. And so yeah, super excited. I'm sorry I'm jumping in late and leaving early, but really appreciate it. Good to see you, Bucci.
Good to see you as well.
All right. Take care.
Bucci.
Yes, sir.
I purposely wanted to, because I know he had to go, but from the health position too, this is a two-pronged problem. When you talk about housing and healthcare at the same time, so here it is from legislative point of view, because right now, as far as Ways and Means Committee, these are the two most highest priorities as far as money and where's it going to go and who's going to get how much of it. So here it is, you talk about housing and that being the issue, but the same people that are in those homes that here it is, what is the number two barriers for them? One is their health and ability to be able to afford health, because here it is, housing is already the issue of being full ability. So here it is, if you're gonna get a family or take adult foster care, I mean, or children, right now, you can't even out-resource to other counties or states. Why? Because of the funding. So this, my thing is going in, and my battle with them is this. You're going to have to pick and choose which one is working as far as financially, meaning when I say which one is working and pick and choose, I think it's really on going to legislative and listening, because now you're going to see who is pitching where to go. What is the emphasis in spending this kind of funding when you talk about housing, and where's that housing located at? Yeah. Because you see what I'm saying? Because now it comes down to, why would you put housing in an area that here it is, the moment when those people that you say that we're going to be able to assist and help to get in that housing, in that market round there, it's already 7% shot up just by mere fact that they're there. So they're already at a deficit. Now, then you go to the other side and go, well, wait a minute. Well, you're talking about adult developmental disabilities. And they just got to build out right now that here it is, they're going to up the ante and say, oh yeah, we need more money for this. Well, let me get this right. If you're going to send someone to another county and you get the money over here, what am I missing? Because my math is not that bad. That housing that you put them in, there's no way that they should have been there. You need to build housing that's affordable and put that other piece in there, because here it is, the medical issue. It's not the person who has a job and they can go to work. That's not the case. You correct me if I'm wrong, but I see it. We're looking at people who do not have the ways and means to be able to support that.
Absolutely. No,
and that comes from who? Okay, well then let's just stop with this. You're going to do housing, you're going to have to be able to me, make it sensible in an area, in the property, that it's affordable, as well as that it matches where Ways and Means Committee are saying, if this money is going to go, it can sustain itself. The only thing now we're working on is to upgrade in education, support, other resources for these families to be able to sustain, as well as even move up where they are. But don't take it away from them just because you put them in there and it's new, and knowing that they can't be able to sustain that on either end.
I definitely agree with your point. Oh, everyone's back. Should we get back into our debrief? Not Commissioner. Dr. Myers?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to share the schedule that the housing subcommittee will be meeting on?
Yes. I believe housing will be every third Thursday at 7 a.m.
Third Thursday at 7 a.m. Here we go. Yes. Yeah. On Google Meet. Yep, that's what we're doing. We'll be flexible if we need to meet with agency staff or legislators, but Bucci, Ben, and me, and hopefully Jimmy's okay with 7 a.m. on third Thursday.
I guess it will be once you hear.
Yeah. Yeah. Ben had to go. He had some really great comments, which we'll put in the minutes and everything, and you can see the recording of, but I appreciated our my homework is to watch the committee hearings that happened during the legislative and previously this year in the housing committees in the Senate and House, to just really, my assignment is to understand the vibe. And so I am excited to do that homework to help support them. But Chair Bucci, please share anything that you want to report out from the chat.
We are just trying to dive more into the funding for housing and just how it correlates with hospices too as well. Just being able to make sure we have appropriate funding, not just for the programs, but also for the folks and their mental health, and just to support them, not just into housing, but to transition into life outside of just low-income housing as well. So we definitely just have some priorities as far as being able to kind of figure out which potential priorities for this long session will align with that.
So this is Terrence, and I can talk a little bit, or Ty, if you want to jump in as well, around the healthcare subcommittee. We actually didn't get a chance to nail down an actual date because it was just Ty and myself. So we got into a good conversation, just relationship building. There are a couple of different options. So Commissioner Williams, we will be in touch via email to get a date scheduled.
Sure.
And we'll also invite to Rep. Nelson and Senator Woods as well.
That'll work. Healthcare is huge on the agenda this year, and for a lot of reasons. And we all have our different resources and takes and who we get to work with. I kind of get to be on the ground floor. For example, they closed, the medical clinic downtown in Eugene, and lo and behold, you close it down, shut it down, and now it's going to be reopened under a new name. Same place, same premises, but you also was asking it to receive more money. And last I checked, there's only 4.3% of people of nationality inside of that clinic when they go there in whole. And it supports Cahoots. It supports the ambulance services. It supports and you can go on and on and on. And I'm going, there's no way that you can sit here and convince me that this is a good plan. And here it is, the proof is in the pudding, because it got shut down for the very thing that you're talking about, trying to recreate the wheel, which is create new money. Call it a different name, put some paint on it, maybe some new windows, It just, some of it doesn't make sense, and the powers, I wouldn't say the powers be, I think the people who can advocate for this in the right way go, we need to be much more we need to be much more dialed in on the state of Oregon and the people who are paying taxes and where their money is going to and how it's being spent, and not just shoved down our throat or told to us, oh, this is what we're going to do. I mean, the last I checked, we do vote.
Absolutely, and that's one of the purposes of these subcommittees, is to start diving into those details. And Rep. Nelson, I do see your hand up, so you may have some.
Yeah, so which clinic was this that shut down? Was this a Peace Health clinic?
Yep.
Okay, and who's
Was
running?
the old Sacred Heart as well, which is
Yeah.
the oldest hospital in the area.
Yeah. That was it.
Who's running it now?
Well, that's the thing. They shut it down, and now all of a sudden, a outside entity, as well as somewhere we find out who's the entity within Oregon in the state level, wants to reopen it, and they have this whole new plan. Really, for me, it's not a new plan. It's the same plan. Different people, different time.
Mr. Williams, do you know who it is? Do they
No,
have a
that's the thing that we're digging in now, because it really just kind of leaked out. Of course, they wasn't going to publicize it, and they weren't going to get city council and all those folks, none of us together and have a conversation. So now that it's there, now we're looking in. Okay, you need to open up, and we need to know exactly who's involved in this thing and how you're going about it. And as well as, you cannot just go and think that you can just go and ask for what you need off the backs of the people. Here it is, it already paid for what was there, and now it's not there, and you're going to start all over again with somebody new. It's ridiculous. Doesn't make sense at all. At all. I'm surprised Cahoots is still standing at this particular point. And they have been a major asset, I think, to some degree, far as Lane County or Oregon. But here it is, it's not spread it out enough, and going, you need to be up in Multnomah County. That Cahoots should be extended out with the kind of work that they do. And especially of Portland. It doesn't make any sense that you don't even have a Cahoots program in Portland. And that's one of the most viable places, because we have the most vulnerable people who are having mental health issues and drugs and issues and things like that. And to get them to resources and services right away, immediately, that's the key, as well as to be able to follow up with that and have an outcome outside of, well, they came here. So what was the outcome of all the services that was provided to them? And then we get back to housing. If they wasn't housed then, so what? You brought them in and you transfer them back out, and now they don't have housing, and we start this cycle all over again.
Yeah, just a response to that. I mean, up in Portland, we do have Portland Street Response. It's not as well funded as it should be, but I do think that they're trying to do good work. As it relates to Eugene, I can tell you that Peace Health I'm trying to be nice. They don't exactly live up to their mission and their values. I work with them in my day job in Southwest Washington, and they're not great to their people. They're not great to the community, and they're a religious institution, in my opinion, that's much too motivated by profit. And I'm aware of what they've done down in Eugene with the university hospital, and objected to that from the beginning. That closure made no sense.
I totally agree with you. I've been here, and I've done this at every level you could think of. About 10 years ago, I was the first appointed by Judge Lennon as the Indian Child Welfare Act, which is on the federal level for that very thing. And Cahoots has been doing a good job. They used to didn't, but anything with Peace Health, I totally agree with you. Totally. I couldn't add anything to what you just said, and my feelings are just as what you said. I want to make sure at this particular time that we, the people who have an opportunity to speak for the people and work this thing out and get it done right, and not keep coming back and spending more money in a new name and the same routine.
For the sake of time, could we spend just 1 more minute on this? I see we have more questions and then we can move on. Commissioner Branch.
I was going to speak for education, but I will ask this question of Representative Nelson. Is there, my concern with the hospital piece is if it's privatized versus some sort of public institution, because we're going to run into that issue as well. But I'm just throwing that out there.
Are you referring to what's happening in Eugene?
What's happening in Eugene? Yeah.
So I don't know all the details. I do know that there's some proposal that's been made by I believe it's McKinsey Willamette, but I don't know all the details.
Oh, I'm on that. So I'm sitting on actually advisory board for the very questions and statements that you just made, that those are the questions and these are the things that we need to know.
Commissioner Branch, could you give us your education report?
Right, I'm going to start, but you guys chime in if I miss something. So our meetings are set up for Tuesdays, every other Tuesday, starting on the 15th of the month. From 11:30 to noon. And we're going to kind of work in 2 areas right at the moment, just asking ourselves what we would like to see in terms of education around resources and funding, and also around accountability and access for students. And hopefully I hit both things.
Covered it.
We will move on for the sake of time to our next order of business, which is the director's report by Director Saunders.
Okay, thank you, Chair Bucci. So I'm going to go through this executive director's report. It's also provided in the email of accompanying meeting materials. So there are a couple of typos, so I apologize for that. So OCBA currently has a biennial budget of $6,641. Out of that, the commission still has $5,925.62 left in general funds for commissioner activities. So this can be used for reimbursements, travel, maybe an in-person get-together for relationship building, and needs to be used by the end of the biennium, which is June 30th, 2025. In the other funds account, which can roll over from biennium to biennium, there's $1,230.06 in that account. Just as a reminder, because we did have some folks show up to the Capitol for legislative days. We also have a meeting with the governor at Mahoney Hall, as well as the Joint Commission meeting. So if there's any need or request for travel reimbursement, which would be mileage, maybe there's a need for a hotel stay overnight, that is something that can come out of the commission budget. And I would request that you send an email request to the chair as well as myself for approval prior to the event as stated in the official duties policy. For commissioner recruitment, Kenny Adams was recently appointed and confirmed by the Senate last month to be on OCBA. Kenny currently lives in La Pine and representing Central Oregon. So glad to see that representation on OCBA. Currently, there are no vacancies. However, I will be following up with commissioners whose terms are close to expiring, ensuring that you're resubmitting applications for a second term appointment if you are interested in continuing to serve on OCBA. Just as a reminder to all commissioners, it's recommended to continue to recruit for new commissioners throughout your day roles, as well as in your official capacities as a commissioner on OCBA. Internal staff update. So a couple of folks have alluded to it. I am permanent now as executive director of the Oregon Advocacy Commission's office effective September 1st. We've also received legislative concepts back from Legislative Council on 2 legislative concepts that we're moving forward as an agency. One is around new statutory language for all 4 advocacy commissions, which we'll go through in our joint commission meeting, as well as changing some language around administrator to executive director in our statutes to align ourselves with the current naming conventions through DAS. Also just alluded to it, joint commission meeting is on October 25th. That's going to be from 9 to 4. It's going to be in Salem at the Labor and Industries Building in Conference Room 260. And that is the same room that we had our May legislative days in. Representative Nelson, I see your hand up.
Yes. When will you guys have your budget request in for the next biennium?
So currently working on that right now. We've submitted our ARB as of September 1st, I believe, for August 1st, one of the 2. So that's been submitted. Governor's office is currently working through it. It should be included in the governor's recommended budget coming out on December 2nd. We do have one POP that we did receive approval for, at least initial green light for, and that is to continue the health equity team until this June 30th, 2026.
Okay. And are you guys restricted in how much you can advocate to legislators because you are in the executive branch? I can't remember.
We are registered as lobbyists. Myself and a couple of my staff are, so we are able to advocate for things. Of course, we need to make sure that we're in alignment with the governor and governor's office prior to doing so, as we are part of the executive branch.
Okay. I think it's going to be real important to make sure that the advocacy commissions are on the radar of the BIPOC caucus and that your budget is one of our priorities. So just be mindful of that as you continue to do that work.
Absolutely. I actually have a meeting later today with Teresa, who is the policy analyst for the BIPOC caucus. So working on that right now. Also going to expose the work of House Bill 4052 and the great work that the health equity team is doing and sharing some of those recommendations as well. So she can ideally share with some of the other legislators as part of the BIPOC caucus. So I'm starting to build those relationships and continuing to foster them.
That's great to hear. Thank you.
No problem. So continuing on with this, OACO is still awaiting 2 commissioners to send their self-attestation forms for compensation. Again, this is a requirement for all commissioners, regardless of if you're going to be requesting reimbursements or not. We are going to follow up via email again to those commissioners that have not submitted their self-attestation form. It is something that folks can also do in Workday, and we will follow up via email. So please be on the lookout for that. We're also going to have a best practices in customer service survey that's going out. It's part of our agency key performance metrics or key performance metrics. It's going to be going out by the end of next week. We're currently working on that survey. It is something that should be sent out on an annual basis. So please be on the lookout and please respond. Again, results are going to be presented during the Ways and Means presentation for the Oregon Advocacy Commission's office in the 2025 legislative session. Activities of sister commissions. Actually, Commissioner for the branch, I see your hand up.
Just really short, and I don't know if this is, I come to you with this or if I come to the whole commission with this at a point. We haven't really talked about the arts. There is a legislative committee around the arts and I just want to know how we're going to gather that information and know what they're working on and what they're doing through this session.
Absolutely. Let's take that one offline because we probably need to do a little bit of digging on. Actually, Rep. Nelson, I see your hand up.
Yeah, So Liz, are you referring to the Arts and Culture Caucus?
Can you hear me?
I couldn't,
Oh.
but now I can.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, so I'm actually part of the caucus. I'm not in leadership. I missed our last meeting, but I can help keep this group apprised of what that caucus is looking at. And if there are things that should be on the caucus's radar that I need to elevate, let me know. We should probably take that offline though.
Okay, great.
I love it. I love it. Would love to be part of those conversations as well, just for transparency for the office as well. So activities of sister commissions and the agency. So Governor
Real
Kotek will,
quick, Terrence. Rob
yes.
Nose is the chair. He's been spearheading that work. So Liz, if you haven't had a meeting with Rob lately, you may want to try to get on his calendar.
I definitely have a plan to do that. Yeah.
Perfect. And we can assist with that as well. We've met with Rep. Nose on a couple of different occasions this calendar year as well. So good news. So Governor Kotek will be hosting a reception with all 4 advocacy commissions on October 16th. Please RSVP to Laura no later than October 9th, 2024. I did send a calendar placeholder out as well, but please make sure that you send that email over to Laura as she's requesting an email prior to getting an actual confirmation that you can attend that meeting. Again, governor's office is going to be there as well. So that's going to be her advisors for the commission's priority areas. So it's going to be a great opportunity to mingle, advocate for priorities, and just build those relationships naturally. Last reminder on this particular topic is that there are no +1s available to attend this meeting. It's only specific for commissioners and OACO staff to attend the reception. Kyle already mentioned a report out on legislative days, so it's a great time to build relationships, meet legislators, discuss and advocate for commission priorities, and build relationships with legislative staff. Just shout out to the commissioners that were able to attend, and as well as virtually attending the committee hearings. Filipino American Northwest Fun Fest will be on Sunday, October 6th, and that's going to be at Director Park in Portland. There's going to be a partnership with OCBA, which is the Oregon Commission on Asian and Pacific Islander Affairs. And that event's going to be held from 2 to 9 p.m. And again, OCBA will be sponsoring. I'm also putting a plug in for the Oregon Commission for Women 40th anniversary for Women of Achievement Awards. Will be opening up nominations in the next couple of weeks. In recent years, OCBA has nominated Commissioner Duke as well as former Commissioner Bailey. So it's strongly encouraged that all commissioners continue to do this and elevating women within each respective community and commission. Any other questions, comments? And Kenny, I will follow up with Laura's email and an email to you. I'm not going to put that as part of this chat. Commissioner for the branch.
I'm so sorry. I forgot one thing. I wanted to, about that NAACP dinner, it was fantastic. There were about 800 people there. But most of those people had left before there was the announcement of trying to raise money for their scholarship committee, to which Renee Anderson, who is a friend of mine, is the head of that committee. And so she was basically asking that if everybody in that room of 800 people could give $42, that they would have plenty of scholarship money that has been basically cut from their budget over the last few years. So they're doing like half the students they used to do. So I'm just going to make this pitch, not as commissioners or not for the OCBA, but just a personal pitch. If you have it in your heart, the NAACP Howard Williamson Scholarship Fund $42, and I will put it in the chat.
Awesome, thank you, and we'll make sure that it's included in our notes as well, and potentially some social media posts.
Does that conclude our agenda? Perfect. I want to thank everyone for being in here today. Our next meeting will be on December 5th, 2024. I'm going to report a meeting to probably all of you or the majority of you at the governor's reception. And also at the joint commission meeting as well in Salem. Yeah, so this meeting is now adjourned. Hope you all have a good rest of your week and chat soon. Everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good one, everyone.